What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another Grizz 901 postgame live right here at Bluff City Media for your Memphis Grizzlies. And listen, if you don't want to claim the Grizzlies, then neither do I right now. They don't have to be your Memphis Grizzlies. They don't have to be my Memphis Grizzlies, but they're the Memphis Grizzlies. And they go down again, a 117-103 loss to the defending champions. And so if you spin it that way, it feels a little bit better, right? It feels like it's okay to drop another loss, but the Grizzlies continue to not be good against the really good teams in the entire league as we enter or look, a little bit closer to the end of the year into the playoffs. There's 7 games remaining, and the Grizzlies continue to be on a slide. There's a lot of news that broke down. Nate and I have not had a chance to talk about the dismissal of Taylor Jenkins and the staff, the dismissal of 2 other coaches, the kind of resurrection, hopefully, of a Tomas Isalo-led team. And what we've seen the last 2 games has been a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more energy. But in the end, the Grizzlies do take 2 losses. But we'll get into all of that. About midway through the show, I have a little coaches Grizz trivia. So King Meeks trivia, Dodgers chicken, Louisiana hot, whatever it might be. Yes, it will be coaches related because you know what? We got to give him a little farewell tour. Easy enough for me to say. But Nate's here with me. And yes, if you're wondering, he will have the snow globe. We're going to break down the entire game. And then eventually we'll get into the Grizz trivia. And then we'll kind of look ahead to the Warriors, which is tomorrow night. So listen, jam-packed week. The chat's already popping. If you're watching right here live after each and every weekday game, thank you. We're on YouTube, Bluff City Media. If you're watching on Twitter, thank you as well. Join your friends over at YouTube at Bluff City Media. We can chat about the entire game, and everybody's already discussing everything. But Nate, listen, he might be asleep. He might be an angry elf as well, but we're going to wake him up and see what he's got about this game. Let's get to it. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Nate, what's up, man?
I'm just watching basketball, man. Just having a good time. It's not great.
The chat's like, oh my God, like what are we doing?
All right, I'm gonna be honest. Let's just get something out of the way. If you're emotionally invested in the performance of a team that fired their coach with 9 games left, you're a true fan, like all of us. But also, it's just a losing battle. So just set proper expectations. But yeah, dog, there's a lot wrong right now. None of it has to carry on into next year. There's a lot wrong right now. So
yeah,
we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. A lot of people are talking about the free throws in a sense. 57% is terrible, as Big Die says. Well, listen, I haven't seen Big Die in a hot minute, so welcome back, Big Die. And I would imagine this will be a highly viewed show. Even though anybody could do this show, but we're here to do it for you and make sure that you can have some fun with us as we try to talk you off the ledge, but also kind of just be here with you discussing a lot of everything. But you're looking at, a lot of this chat that I'm seeing is a lot about Luke not shooting. In a sense, that's a big issue because if you're a high percentage shooter, we want you to shoot. There's also a lot about the idiot GM, as Austin calls him. We'll get into the roster construction here in a little bit, but let's start off with a little bit of positive, okay? Ja Morant. I thought when Ja is back, I feel like Ja has been pretty good. 26 points. I think he had 19 points at half, so he was very limited to 7 in the second half. But he looked like he was able to kind of get what he wants. But Nate, in my opinion, this does not look like a Ja Morant team. This looks like I don't know, all lives matter team. It just doesn't make sense.
The roster is just inherently flawed. I don't know how many other ways to say it. Like, they've got a ton of talent, right, that could turn out well. None of it's guaranteed to turn out well, right? Like, as much as we all believe in Gigi, he got sent to the G League, and you can say it's about how he was used, and I wouldn't blame you. But at the end of the day, it's like, bro, he wasn't playing well. That's why he got sent to the G League, right? Now, he's got a lot to figure out. Coaching was clearly hindering the team. I don't think anyone would argue that. But he wasn't playing well. Vince has not looked great again. Hit the side of the backboard again tonight on a corner three. Like, Jalen Wells has been awesome, but like it's about the only reason they've been as successful as they've been is that Jalen Wells has been awesome, right? I mean, it's just, you're watching tonight and the Celtics feel impossible to guard, but it's not like Drew Holiday lights the world on fire on his own. It's not like Derek White lights the world on fire on his own. It's just, if you guard Tatum, if you guard Porzingis, if you double any of those guys, they're swinging it to somebody who's going to hit the three. Yeah. Who's going to do their job. And when you're the Grizzlies, it's like, okay, the Celtics are swinging it to Derek White. Worst case scenario, they're swinging it to Al Horford or Drew Holiday in the corner. And you're swinging it to Vince Williams or to Jalen Wells or to Luke Kennard, who's not even shooting at this point. Yeah. Like, it just is not the same. And you saw what happened when they had Tillman in the game. Grizzlies went on a run because they were swinging it to a guy who couldn't hit it. And then all of a sudden the Grizzlies go on a run, right? And then that's why Tillman only played 8 minutes tonight. Yeah. Like, the roster is flawed.
100%. And that's what Joseph Mitchell's saying is nothing has changed with this team. And I know a lot of people are just trying to defend the new coach, Tomas Isolo, which is fine. I know it won't be a complete overhaul, but honestly, like, nothing has changed. And everybody wants to call certain people who back the coach as Taylor truthers or Taylor purists. Let me just be honest. I've been on the same side the entire season. The offense sucks. It does not benefit your best people, whether Taylor Jenkins or Tomas Isolo or, I don't know, Jackie Chan. I don't care who's coaching. It sucks right now, okay? But the roster and the rotations, they've always sucked. They sucked again tonight. They were just because it's all bad players. If you look at this, and I don't want to say bad players, it's just a bad roster construction. There's no method to the madness. And so, will that change next season? Maybe. Is this season completely done? Practically. I don't want to write it off and say, hey, it's just done completely, because they could just figure out a way to win some games and get hot at the right time and flip a switch that we have not seen flip pretty much the entire season. But in my honest opinion, I just think that this is going to be a tough end of the year and a tough playoffs. There's going to have to be a lot that changes on the roster to be able to allow a coach to coach in the way that they want to. And yes, and Sherman's saying, they are playing harder. When you have Ja Morant, you play a little bit harder. They were playing decent until Ja went out. And at that point, they kind of went down. Like I've said that the entire season, this team needs an actual Ja Morant. And when he has not been on the court, the team has kind of looked lifeless. They need that shot of Ja in a sense, right? And so they just need a little bit more, and they need some veteran leadership. They don't have it on this team. I don't care who's coaching. I don't care at all. There has to be some players that step up. And once the players step up, then I think this team will be okay.
Oh, and like Sherman's saying here too, they're not bad. They're just young. Like, I don't think there's any one of those guys we're talking about earlier. I don't think any of them lacks talent.
Correct.
Whatsoever. I think all those guys can play, but we said at the very beginning of the season, like, you sort of need to make a decision on Vince or Wells if you want to compete this year. Yeah. Truth be told, you're probably not going to end up paying both long term. All right, you're going to probably go with one and stick with them, and then you get vets. They're cheap around that, right? More likely than not, unless things go super, super well. Yeah. This year they have not gone super, super well. Doesn't mean next year they can't, because they are super young. Right. But you can't win on the highest level against these great teams with the roster as young as this is, unless it's this young and every bone of them is like awesome, like gem of the draft class, right? Which Jalen Wells, based on where he's drafted, could be the gem of this past draft class. But You got a rookie Wells, rookie center, got Vince playing, and there's a chance a lot of it is, they defended so well at the beginning of the year. There's a chance dude's legs are tired. It's like there's a chance that that's a factor. It's a chance it's just an experience, and other teams are turning it on. They don't know how to turn it on. There's a chance of a lot of things being the case, but including maybe the team quitting at the deadline because they salary dumped instead of building up the roster, right? So none of this can't be corrected going into next year. But, I mean, you look at it tonight, and it's like you just can't have all that. In a game where I actually thought Jalen Wells played really well, shot really well, did a good job, you just don't have enough, right? Now, against a team like Boston, if they're hitting threes like that, you got to be almost perfect, right? I mean, you got to play really, really well to beat that team if they're going to play like they did tonight, which is to their strengths.
Yeah.
But it isn't just a tonight thing, right? It's a lot of issues. But that was not, I mean, there's a lot more to it than that tonight. But it's a state of the roster and the team as a whole.
Right. Well, let me I'm going to talk about 3-pointers a little bit later on. I got a stat from our guy, Drew Gann, who gave that to me. But before we get into more negative, let's go back and take a step back to the actual positive of this. And I did not expect to see this, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts. Jaren Jackson Jr., 3 of 6 from deep tonight. Fine, 8 of 16 overall. Was missing a lot of the bunnies, which was what he's been so good at lately. Like, he's been really good at, hitting those push shots, those floaters in the lane, a lot of those shots that honestly you would not, as a coach, say, hey, those are your shot. Go ahead and take them. He's hitting them. And so you go ahead and, you lean on them. But 8 of 16 overall, 50% just on the night, both 3-pointer and from twos. 20 points, 15 rebounds. We have not seen this out of Jaren the entire season. I would assume this is high for the entire season. Do you think that maybe this is a one-off game, or do you think that he's being put in a different spot that allows him to get these rebounds?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I've never thought Jaren, he's never been a great rebounder, to be sure. I mean, he is not getting great rebounding position. But I thought a lot of his rebounding issues have been a lot more, he's just playing out on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Right. He's just playing out on the perimeter. He's sort of a roamer. He's always challenging anything at the rim, which means he's not just going to get those rebounds at the rim, right? Somebody else has got to clean up that because he is challenging whoever's going to the rack. And then if it's a long rebound, it goes wherever it goes, right? Yeah. So I've always thought that was more of the issue, but I thought he was aggressive tonight. Okay. I mean, I thought he was super aggressive tonight. Love to see it. I saw the 15 rebounds. I made a point of not watching box scores until the end of games.
Yeah.
A lot lately. And so I looked up and I was like, shit. Because like the only time I remembered him any kind of rebounding was when he got terrible position on Peyton Pritchard and had that foul towards the end of the game. That's the only time I remembered any of it. I looked like he got 15 rebounds. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm like, all right. Yeah, we'll see. It's Jaren's rebound has always been sort of a product of the game around him. I sort of feel like this is going to be the same sort of deal.
Yeah, and a lot of it is the long rebounds. When you have 3-point shooting and you have Zach Edey, who was in foul trouble the entire game, it really was lineups that we saw that he put in J Huff for, I believe it was 1 minute at some point, because we saw Edey get his, I think it was his 4th rebound at that point. He went to J Huff. J Huff played at least, literally little over 1 minute in his spurt. And then Jaren was the 5. And in all honesty, if you look at the other side of the ball, 26 points for Al Horford was just sitting in the corner, just practically shooting layups from the 3-point line, and just felt like he, 6 of 13, 6 of 13. It just shows that there was no. I don't want to say I don't put that on a coach. That is a little bit of coaching to the point of, hey, when there's rotations and there's chaos, you got to make sure you're staying in the corner, because that's literally what they were doing. But that also is so much more of the players. They have to understand, like, what are they trying to do? They're trying to shoot 3-pointers. They're dribble, drive, and kicks, and then you're kicking to that short corner, and that's his shot. 6 of 13 is gross for Al Horford, and that's really what he did tonight. But I don't want to get on too much of the negative. The Grizzlies tried to shoot three-pointers tonight, but Drew, our guy Drew Gann, shared with me this stat. The Grizzlies in the first quarter were 5 of 11 from three-point. What do you think they were the rest of the game, Nate?
5 of 11.
5 of 11 to start the game in the first quarter. The rest of the game, what was their three-point makes and attempts?
I guess it would be 6 for 33.
It was 6 of 33.
Quick maths.
Good job, mathematician.
Thank you. Yeah, it was not good. All right. Let's just talk about this, dude. What's up with Dez? Like, why doesn't Dez just make big shots anymore? I didn't watch the Lakers game. Apparently, he did well in the Lakers game. We're going to talk about another person who apparently did well in the Lakers game, and I have questions about that after tonight as well. But, like, dude, Dez has been so awesome in the past, and he's had awesome games this year. He's had times where, like, oh, dude, boom, he's right back to it. But now it's like he gets that ball up top, he gets the ball in the corner. It's not like automatic. Doesn't feel automatic at all. What's going on?
All right, so I got a little opinion on this, okay? And I'm going to go back to my playing days because I only can relate to that in my opinion. I am not a street ball player. I can get out there on the blacktop. I can go to Mount Moriah, probably not anymore, but I can play with the best of them and I can have fun. I am not good. You want to play pickup ball? I'm fine. Pick me up. I'm gonna do my best. We're gonna try to win, but I'm not going to be the best version of myself. I need some consistency. I need a scheme. I need a game plan. I need to figure out the mind part of it and be able to get to my shot. I want to be able to take away the team's best plays, all that good stuff. I think that's the exact same thing that Dez needs. Dez is more of a philosophical player. Like he has to have a scheme. He has to have a down screen, brings him up on the top, back to the ball on a quick shot or a quick pump. Let the guy fly by, the flyby king, scoot over and hit the shot. Or he needs to go ahead and run off of a DHO, a dribble handoff, or screen, assist, something like he did with Steven Adams. If you look at Desmond Bane, he likes to have plays. He likes to be a certain guy. He does not like to just kind of free flow and everybody just kind of hit their shots. And so I think Dez, as Big Die's saying, Dez is more of the pick and roll guy, right? He needs a little bit of understanding of the offense. And I think that's kind of where we're at. And yes, as Goon the Shooter's calling our new coach, Mark Arvarone, like he kind of just looks like him, in my opinion. I know nothing about Tomas Isolo, but I hated Ivarone, so I don't want to put him in that category just yet. But I will say that I think Dez needs a little bit of structure to the offense. I don't know if Tomas actually will be able to do that at some point, but it's not going to happen this season. But Dez needs something. He needs something to kind of give him some structure to the offense because right now the free flow is not good for Dez.
Yeah, and I was looking at it tonight. And I'm like, dude, it just feels like Dez gets that ball, he gets the flyby, he gets whatever it's been, and in the past it's just been, I mean, it's really felt automatic, right? But at this point, I'm like, why doesn't it feel that way anymore? I'm like, Dez didn't just suck overnight. Like, it's not like Dez just can't make these shots. So I'm like, what's going on with it, right? And I think, yeah, 100% what was just said by Austin.
Structure is consistency, 100%. And also, I agree with that exact same thing. But also, Grizz Fan 01, which one I haven't seen your name, so welcome. Dez is more Rip Hamilton, Klay Thompson, Reggie Miller, right? Like he wants to be the guy who needs the ball, one or two dribbles. Like as we know, Klay Thompson's not a big dribble guy, but he's okay to catch it and kick it back, right? But we're playing him like he's a creator, like an Anthony Edwards. That is not his that's not his role. Like, can Klay Thompson get downhill if you need to? Yeah, he's fine. But is he that guy? No, they're not treating him like Klay Thompson, like a shooter. They're treating him just like everybody else. That's the issue.
Well, if you want to say he's like a Rip Hamilton, Klay Thompson, Reggie Miller plus type of thing, Reggie Miller plus is pretty high praise. I'm honestly, all those guys are pretty awesome NBA players, but still, like he brings a little bit more of the creation to the game. I would say, yeah, sure, like you could say that a little bit, but I'm with you on that. But I just looked, and like tonight, it was a lot of flybys and open looks, and it's still just not falling. Which sometimes it's just a bad night, but it feels like there's been a lot more rough nights than great nights as of late. But again, I think I'm not out on Dez. I know a lot of people like to say that they are. I don't know if they really are, but it's clearly been one of those where like, hey, like, man, it don't look right. But a lot with the team doesn't look right.
No doubt. Well, there's a lot that they're going to have to answer for sure. But the one thing we can share with you is that you're watching the Grizz 101 live post-game show. We're going to try to be promoting this show as we get closer down the stretch throughout the end of the season. And so you could have this possibly coming out the next day in the video form. So if you're seeing this and you're not seeing all the live chat, feel free to go over to the live version of the show, and you'll see the live chat as we go throughout the entire show. But we're going to try to put this out. But I'm Daniel. That is Nate. And we're here after every weekday game, trying to give you a little bit of post-game time. And then tomorrow night, we'll be back here again with the Warriors. So make sure you tune in on Tuesday night. We're going to talk about and continue to talk about the game as we're breaking it down. But I want to give some love. Smooth Southpaw was talking about it earlier, as well as others. But Smooth Southpaw shared Pete Pranica on the national call with Brendan Haywood. Pretty cool, right?
Oh, dude, it's awesome. I think it's the second or third time he's done that, right? He did.
I know he's done it. I know he's last year. I don't know if he's done it this year. I don't know if he's ever called a Grizzlies game though on TNT.
No, I do not think it was a Grizzlies game. No.
Right. I think it showed how good he is because his bias, in my opinion, him not having Brevin doesn't allow him to cut up as much, which I understand that because like let's say I don't have Nate on here and I have somebody else that, and let's just use Drew. I can't cut up with Drew like I can with Nate because I don't have exactly all the same chemistry, but also you're not having one side that you're trying to target, the side for the Grizzlies. And so he was having to go back and forth, but Brendan Haywood, who I never thought he would be that good on the call, was a lot better in my opinion. And so shout out to Pete, man. Pete's always the best. For sure. But we do want to make sure that tomorrow, Tuesday and Thursdays at noon, we do have the $2 Sports Show. Make sure noon Central, go check it out. I know Vernon's going to be on as well. But if you want to get the exact same live feel, a lot of your chat, whatever, you will see through it. So will Drew and as well as Rusty on the $2 Sports Show right here at Bluff City Media. But I got a question. Courtney wants to know, why do they shoot threes and have no one crashing the boards?
Because they little. Like, I mean, honestly, it's like half the time you got Scottie Pippen's the one crashing the offensive glass. I mean, and honestly, they could definitely crash the offensive boards, but you miss having Brandon Clark out there for that kind of thing. Like that kills you. After that, you're kind of looking at Santi Aldama, who is a better rebounder than a lot of people think, but it feels like he's always sneaking his rebounds. It doesn't feel like he's like getting in there, getting physical, winning rebounds like Brandon, right? Like you don't have many guys on the team who can win rebounds.
Yeah.
All right. You have a lot of guys who can sneak rebounds. Don't have a lot of guys who can win rebounds. Like you got Dez for his size can win rebounds. Brandon can win rebounds. Some nights Jaren can win rebounds, and that's about it. Like Edie isn't winning rebounds, which is pretty killer for you, right? You kind of need him to win rebounds. Santi isn't winning rebounds. Bagley, rough night for Bagley. But he's barely playing. Jay Huff isn't winning rebounds for you. You know, if it's a 50-50 ball, your guys aren't typically the ones to win it.
Yeah.
And that's the case.
Drew wants to know, why did we go away from Bagley?
Because he was rough. It was rough. Looked lost out there. Which I mean, this may have been part of what did Jenkins in. It's like, dude, you got him. Like, play him against some of these bad teams that you're playing against earlier in the stretch after you got him, right? Like, get him more in a rhythm. Like, he's not played much at all. It's hard to get in a rhythm after that, right? And so, it looked rough tonight, but at the same time, it's like he's had no chance to play with his team and get much run with his team. So it's hard to say too much about it, but, didn't look great from Bagley tonight. But none of your bigs look great, man. I mean, none of your bigs, like, constantly lost on defense. Energy was actually good for pretty much everybody tonight, but you're lost on defense other than Jaren. Just at the end of the day, you played Santi because Santi's the only one who could be a threat at any level for the team tonight. So, again, the roster is just inherently flawed.
Yeah, and if you look at Santi had the most minutes in the game on the Grizzlies side tonight, which playing a bad game Saturday night, and then now he's had the most minutes. Sometimes it just works like that. He had one more minute than Josh, so it's not like a lot, but he did have a lot of minutes. But he was having to fill in more of the size for Edey because he had foul trouble. But I don't want to hit on Santi too bad. I know he didn't look great at times, and I get that. I just don't want to beat up on a guy for that one. Play a lot of minutes because he kind of was forced to.
I didn't think Santi was bad at all tonight.
I know, but he wasn't great. Like, he was fine. Like, there was nothing like I don't want to dig into the bad, but also I don't see anything that like I could lean on the good, right? So there's no reason to get into him too much, is what I mean. Like, there was nothing good or bad. But DJ's got a question, and this is kind of going into next year, but also a little bit of people's questions. And so, one, DJ's been here a lot. I just want to bring this up, but thoughts on the Dillon trade? A bad idea because the team lost its heart and soul. Do you think that's true? Because I think Dillon hurt the team offensively because he shot so much. I don't know if you could get that same exact Dillon here that you're getting in Houston, even though Houston Dillon still sucks a lot. We just don't see it as much, right? He still sucks. We just don't see him on a consistent basis. I don't think that was ever going to change in Memphis, no matter who the coach is, because he was here before everybody else, right? He was the OG, he was the vet. He felt like he can kind of do what he wants, and so it's hard to change that. So, do you think that we lost a lot of our heart and soul when Dillon left?
No, I mean, yes and no. I stayed on with. I wanted Dillon to work longer than about anybody wanted Dillon to work. I just was such a Dillon believer because he played so hard. He did give you a lot of energy and the psycho that I am sort of, I guess, known by myself for loving him. I'm not known enough to be known for anything, but I know that I love psychopaths. But that was my biggest thing at the end of it. Was Dillon was just never going to. He was never going to be the best version of himself and what this team needed him to be on this team. But like what I said back then when they weren't going to resign him was the same thing that I believe now. Like, he's going to go somewhere, and people can talk all they want about it. He's going to end up being a great role player for some other team. Because I believed he would figure it out when he wasn't here. Right? I believe it'd be a wake-up call, and he'd figure it out. And I think he's done that with Houston. And listen, he can miss a bunch of shots at Houston. He's a key piece for what they're doing this year. I don't think not having Dillon is what screwed you up so bad. What screwed you up so bad is you've replaced him with freaking Vince Williams and Jalen Well. Like, who, again, is not to knock on those guys. I think they can be good players for your team. It's like, but dude, like, you're putting Jalen Wells on Jason Tatum. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, he is neither big enough nor strong enough, tall enough nor strong enough. There we go. To not be confusing. He's neither tall enough nor strong enough to go out there and guard Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's who you're throwing at Luka Doncic. It's who you're throwing at Jason Tatum. It's who you're throwing at SGA. Like, brother, I can tell you how that's going to happen. So not having Dillon hasn't been the problem as much as it's been not having Dillon and then throwing out freaking 20-year-olds on Jason Tatum. Like, again, I'm not sitting there. I'm not calling for Kleiman's head. I'm not calling for his job. I'm not one to call for someone's job regardless, but I don't think that would be right either. But dude, like, what do you expect to happen?
Yeah.
So you miss Dillon because you haven't replaced him with anything that's viable. Like it's supposed to be Marcus Smart. And whether that's on Kleiman for just swinging and missing, or Smart for just never being invested enough, or just bad injury luck, whatever it is, that's what's killed you.
Yeah.
Like when you replaced Dillon with Marcus Smart, no one was mad about it then. Nobody was mad about that when it happened, right? Like you see what John's got here. Smart was too small. Smart was always too small. That was always the argument, but it was like, hey, he's always played bigger than his size.
But he wasn't healthy, and he did not seem happy here.
Sure. If you want to say it's a miss, sure. But it was like, if you could get the Boston version of Marcus Smart, you like that move. You just never did. But it's beside the point. You still have not found a way to augment this roster. And you keep holding on to your guys and holding on to your guys. Like, dude, I am not a Santi hater as a lot of people are. Not like people. I didn't watch Saturday night. Just so everybody knows, we've had family events going on. I didn't get to watch Saturday night. People hate Santi after Saturday night, so I don't know what happened.
They need somebody else to hate. It is what it is.
I don't know what happened, but I've seen people just ripping on Santi. I'm not a Santi hater, bro. He should have been gone for you to go get someone. You just should have. Yeah. Right now, maybe the move just didn't exist, but it seems like the move never exists.
Yeah.
Right. That's been the problem. So, again, these guys get another year of development under them. I believe in a lot of the talent that they have, but like, you've got to come off some of your pet projects. Like, it just blows my mind that John Collins is sitting in Utah, man. Like, and for a team that needed toughness, rebounding, and just an offensive threat that could show up in the playoffs. Like, it's hard for me to believe there wasn't a move out there to be made. So all that to say, you do miss Dillon, but don't miss Dillon because Dillon's not here. You miss Dillon because you've replaced him with young second-round picks.
Yeah. And
it's not a knock on them. It just is what it is.
Well, and to Ryan's point here, like, it wasn't Dillon in the regular season. It was Dillon in the playoffs. And so we could potentially remember why Dillon was able to walk, once we see him maybe in the playoffs and potentially shoot their team out of it. I don't know, but that's what he did to the Grizzlies, because consistently people would target you differently into the playoffs. And at that point, there's more issues there. But, anyway, I agree completely. I don't think Dillon was the heart and soul of this team. I think it was the Ja issues. I think somebody was talking about that, like Ja having those issues pretty much desensitized this team. Like, you can't do what you used to do. You couldn't have the cool factor. And so because of that, like, you literally just lost who you were in general. So that part is what sucked the most.
Yeah. And I do want to bring this up because I like Santi. Again, I'm not a Santi hater, like I was saying a minute ago, but like, he's one of those pieces that you can move to get something that can really help you. Right? It's all been about roster consolidation. It's all been about roster consolidation. And at no point have you been able to make a move to consolidate the roster into something better. You consolidated it into a salary dump.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like, it's just so hard for me to not sit there and say that part of the reason this team struggled since the trade deadline is because they looked at it and said, you've put a team around this that cannot compete.
Yep.
I mean, you see how mad Ja gets because people just don't know what's going on. And like, he throws it to Vince in the corner. It's a wide open three, and it literally hits the side of the freaking backboard, which happens once a week. It's like, I mean, I'd be frustrated too, right?
Yeah, I agree. And we're talking about here, Jackson Hayes, thank you for hanging out. If you want to join us over at Bluff City Media, the YouTube, by all means, hang out at Twitter if you'd like. But if you want to see a ton more comments that you're missing out on, literally as I'm talking, there's 5 or 10 probably going to pop up. That's just how it is. Join us over at Bluff City Media YouTube. Hit the live button. You'll see our show pop up at Grizz on One. But Kleiman, honestly, blaming the coach. I don't know if blaming the coach is the right thing. Did the move need to be made from Jenkins? Yes. Like, Jenkins at that point was out. Like, you could see it in his face. He wasn't the same guy as he was last year. And the reason is they took his legs out from underneath of him in the offseason. They literally got rid of a bunch of coaches that were on his roster, not his decision. We weren't sure how much him and Kleiman, as Jenkins and Kleiman, were against each other, or we're not seeing eye to eye. That's obviously very we can see all of that now. Before then, we didn't know. They keep everything close to the vest. But if you look at what happened is they went out and got a bunch of guys that really Jenkins, they weren't his guys. And maybe some of them were a little bit people that he would have went after, but in the end, it came down from the front office. So at that point, you're already on the hot seat. And they're saying, hey, this is the direction we want to go. We believe in you because you have the players, and we think that you can be a good coach. But in the end of the day, we do not see you as being the future if you can't get on board with the direction we want to go. And at that point, there was always issue with the St. Andrews guy going from the offense to the defense, and the defense was the worst it's ever been. And then you have LaRoche, and then also it was more of the Tomas Isolo offense. So you kind of meshed both of those, and it did not look like the Taylor Jenkins offense, which we agreed was not great in the half court. So you do want to spruce it up a little bit. The problem is there's too much of an overhaul, too much of a change. But then you also get to the entire roster, and the roster has been an issue consistently, especially because it's been so young. And then saying that he doubled down on youth, got some vets, and then went backwards and then tripled down on youth again. There's a lot of issues that were there. So either way, so much happening. I don't want to put blame on the coach. I don't want to put blame on anybody in general. I just think this roster is bad. I think there was too much that happened. And because of that, it was chaos, and it was not a good environment probably for anybody. And so there probably were players that really did not want to be a part of it because of that. And so all that being said, this season has sucked because it has been so much turmoil going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. And that's okay. But there has been some issues, and I think getting rid of the head coach was a smart decision, even with 9 games to go, because now I think that Kleiman in the front office gets a free look at Tomas Isolo and see how he is on the sidelines. Can they get that free look, but also see him in the playoffs, whatever that is in the play-in or whatever it might be? They get at least 2 games to see how he is as a playoff head coach. And then they can make their decision, because this next head coach, whether it's Tomas Isolo or whether it's somebody else next season, you're going to be tied if you're Kleiman to him going forward. If it doesn't work out, it won't work out for Kleiman.
Yep. And again, like all this to say, like all that can get fixed in this offseason, right? But it needs to. It needs to get fixed in this offseason. You cannot bank on what you have,
right,
when it comes to all that. Again, and a lot of this is like, I feel like it can come off as like hating on these players, and it's not. I think it's unfair to put all these players in the position that they're in. Like, they're being put in positions they just aren't ready to be in.
Right.
Which, let's get to another one of those, because I do want to talk about this. Because I saw so much love for Edey after last game. And again, I didn't get to watch it, so I'm not saying it was unwarranted. But he comes out tonight, and I'm like, brother, like, he's just getting just tortured. And, like, can't go on the same. And it was clearly frustrated himself with it, right? But, I mean, he just was getting, like, he wasn't even lost something. He just couldn't keep up. No. You know, like Horford's out for 3, and then he's wide open every time. And then, you know, he finally gets Derek White, like, in the restricted area, smokes the layup, which happens from time to time. But I'm like, bro, it's like, I'm watching this happen. Like, he's like getting played off the floor.
Yeah. That's like, how it's going to be in the playoffs, 100%.
But, like, what happened? Because in the Lakers game, apparently he was absolutely going off.
Who's their best player as a big for the Lakers?
I mean, Jackson Hayes is awesome. I think we can all agree.
That's your answer. If you look at Porzingis and you look at Horford, both can step out and make the 3, right? He's being stretched too far. They also play more of a 5 out. If you look at the Lakers, it's about matchups. We've said it on this show from day one. He is matchup based. Same thing as BC. They're both matchup based. If you look at Jackson Hayes, Hayes he probably shoots it better than both of us, but barely from beyond the arc. Like, he probably isn't a great 3-point shooter, and that's fine. Like, he wants to be around the rim. But also, if you look at LeBron, you look at Luka, they both want to get into the lane as well. It's a different style of play. And so you talk about the worst possible spot, that was where Edey was. I would have went to probably Jay Huff tonight, because I think Jay Huff could have played a little bit better on Porzingis. But also, even though his defense is a little flawed, especially team defense, I think Huff could have played a little bit better outside. Didn't get the shot. They went with Edey and stuck with him and completely just a bad 13 minutes, 4 fouls in 13 minutes. Like, it just wasn't good.
And I will say, like, Kristaps Porzingis is a particularly tough matchup. But, you know, when I'm thinking about the Lakers, I'm like, you know, they're just dishing out the guys there too. Like, if Gabe Vincent's making shots, and you're probably in trouble. And from what I saw, Gabe Vincent made some shots.
Yeah.
But I'm like, did they not just try and do the same thing to Edie in that game? Just put him in every pick and roll and then give up open shots? Because that's what I assumed would happen. And it sounds like it didn't happen. So what was different about the Lakers game other than they don't have Kristaps Porzingis type of thing, right?
I honestly, I think it was just a lot of around the basket. Like Dez was on fire. So when you can make your outside shots, right, it's easy to pump fake or drive the lane, and then everybody has to step up. And so at that point, some dump offs, and then you have Zach Edey getting a lot of that. That's where it ended up coming from, is a lot of the dump offs. So it wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't because he played great defense. They did not target him. Like, it was not a well-coached game. Like, hey, let me go after Zach Edey. It was just a game. They all kind of played within themselves. They went up by 20 in the second quarter. Let the Grizzlies kind of come back a little bit because Dez got hot. That was the main reason that they even got close to coming back. And then throughout the entire third, start of the fourth, and then once they took it serious, they just took off with it. Anytime if you're close in the fourth, these teams that are better than you, that have vets, they're just gonna completely change everything, and they're gonna take off in the fourth, just as the Celtics did tonight.
Yeah, and honestly, I will say this: if you're gonna commit to Edey and play him, I'm actually with Art. Like, get the dude touches at the beginning of the game, because if you freeze him out at the beginning of the game, then it's gonna get rough fast. So again, I'm not an Edey hater. I'm definitely not the biggest Edey truther in the world. Like, I'm not gonna be a rookie big truther pretty much over anybody for the most part. But if you're gonna play the dude, like, you gotta try and get him going early.
Yep.
Before the game gets out of touch, and all of a sudden it feels like every possession matters. Right? You got to get him engaged from the get-go. So, anyways, again, tough look for I don't know how to say names. I'll call him T.I. For T.I. to try and get into this going with 9 games left in the season, but just still messy. Part of the roster. Again, I feel like it's just going to be the same thing. It's like the players just aren't quite good enough.
Anyway. King Meek's got a question. We're going back to yesteryear, not a lot tonight, so why don't we just keep on going? Do you think that if we would have kept Tyus, Melton, Kyle Anderson, Tillman, Adams, will we have the exact same record?
Maybe. Maybe. But it would, I mean, there's so much what ifs in that. Like, what if Melton isn't hurt because he's not playing this year? What if Kyle is getting more minutes because it's been like a non-existent since he's gone to the Heat, it feels like. And he's probably getting minutes. It just, the Heat don't exist in this timeline, it feels like. Tillman, I guess you keep Tillman because by proxy you keep Tillman, but Tillman's not really making an impact at a super high level. Adams is tough.
Adams is the only one that I really cared about.
Adams is tough. And I know there's a lot of like extra stuff around that besides basketball that plays a factor there, but
yeah.
Adams is the one that does all the rebounding that you need, sets all the screens, does all the dirty work. He also was playing better perimeter defense that year before he hurt his knee, which people tend to forget. He had clearly worked on playing better perimeter defense. Adams is the big one. All the other guys is just, okay, you're not playing these young dudes. Like, you're swinging at the guys who, are athletes are going to defend. Kyle's a savvy vet. Tyus is obviously pretty reliable, but now honestly, if you aren't doing Tyus, then you're going to say that's Scottie Pippen, who I think has become one of the most reliable players on the team night in and night out at this point in the season. So it's really like the athleticism of Melton. You would assume, I guess, you're kind of banking on his shot getting more consistent. But that's a big jump.
But it never did, really.
I'm saying that's a big jump to try and make there. I wouldn't buy into that. It's really the athleticism, defense activity of Melton, and the physicality of Adams is what you really miss. And Kyle. Kyle would probably be getting minutes for this team.
You know what I think about it? Yep, probably, maybe. Who knows?
That's about to say, yeah, yeah.
Who knows? Who cares? I agree with Wayne. We just
Yeah,
recycle these guys. They're fine. Nothing crazy. They're not great. They're not bad. They're whatever. But I do want to ask about this because I have not heard this, seen this, or know anything about this because I've been busy, and I assume I know you've been busy, so I know you probably have no idea.
Nope.
But Brian James, Esquire, I'm going to call him Esquire, listened to the Verno on Simmons pod. I have not. And I know that Ryan Meadows, who normally is a Simmons guy or used to be a Simmons guy, maybe not as much anymore, it says the national media is on to us. And Kip asked the question that I wanted to know. On to us? How? And so I have not seen the answer.
No idea what this is.
But do you know anything about Verno going on the podcast for Bill Simmons pod?
Bro, I didn't even get to watch our own game Saturday night. No, I have not listened to a basketball podcast, and I don't know how long. The answer is no.
All right. Hopefully we'll get our answer, but I have no idea. Grizz Company Man says Simmons and Russillo don't respect Verno. I disagree with that. Simmons really likes Verno. I don't know about Russillo, whatever, but I do know
neither
that
one of those guys is known for being respectful of much of anyone.
and honestly, I don't know. I don't care, but I just assume how well he talks of Simmons that I would assume that they like each other. But anyway, that's enough of the game breakdown. I want to get into Grizz Trivia because we've been talking about so much of this game and breaking it down and talking about different things. But the Grizzlies ended up losing 117 to 103. And what was it was a fun, I thought it was an interesting, but also I thought it was a fun game in a sense. Art says that someone said was Josh should be traded. That's stupid. I don't think Josh should be traded. Josh should just play, and he might need a head coach that kind of holds him accountable. But we'll see.
To it. That piqued my interest.
It'll pique my interest. All right. But as you all know, we do a little bit of trivia here. We try to have some fun. And so nothing crazy, but tonight the head coach was just let go. So we got to get into a little bit of that, but also see if we can hit some trivia that revolves around the head coaches of the Memphis Grizzlies. All right, Nate. This is not a snow globe time, but this is a question that I don't think you will get. I would be shocked if you get this one right. But the question is, who are the 4 coaches who have won a playoff game in Grizzlies franchise history?
Just
who are the 4 coaches who have won a playoff game in Grizzlies franchise history?
Just one game. It's only been 4?
4 guys.
That's okay. Taylor, Lionel, Fizdale, Jaeger. That's it.
Did you just get that right? I am shocked that you got that right.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty easy one.
I'm shocked you got that right.
It was only going to be 4. That was going to be the 4. I just can't believe it was only 4.
I can't believe you got Fizdale. I didn't think you'd get Fizdale.
Yeah, take that for data series.
Yes, I forget.
Yeah,
that was too easy. You're right, Drew. That was too easy.
Yeah,
all right, but it was surprising. The reason I targeted that was because 4 guys being on here. Lionel Hollins 18 wins because he went deeper in there. Taylor Jenkins, as well as Dave Yeager, both having 9. They're both within. I think one had 23, one had 22 games just overall, and so they're right next, neck and neck. And then David Fizdale with 2 wins, and so very interesting.
That's just super surprising to hear. It's gonna be one more after this year, maybe. We make the playoffs.
So one I was shocked about. I thought you would say the reason I thought it was going to be easy is because of Hubie.
Yeah,
like Hubie should have won, and he did not. He didn't have any.
That's why I was like, at least 5 is what I was thinking.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would definitely thought it was Hubie.
Yeah, Hubie never won a playoff game, Austin. I was shocked as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'd pull it up, but I want so I do know that. Man, all right, I'm gonna have to pull this back up real quick because I do think it's interesting. How do I get to my history? That's what I really need to find.
That's crazy. Never won one.
Yeah, so I do know Mike Fratello was 0-4. I do know that much. Let me
That's
get
wild.
let me get down to it. And I want to do something a little bit different in how this looks. Maybe I'll do it for the playoffs if I can ever get there. But it was Lionel Hollins had 35 games, 18 wins, 17 losses. Taylor Jenkins had 23 games, 9 wins, 14 losses. Dave Yeager, 22 games, so one less game than Taylor, 9 wins, 13 losses. David Fisdale had 6 games, went 2-4. Hubie had 4 games, went 0-4. Mike Fratello had 8 games, went 0-8.
That's unfortunate.
And then the other guys, did you know Johnny Davis coached for the Grizzlies? 2 games.
Nope.
Back in 2009. I had no idea.
I was wondering if we're gonna get the coaching tonight, though. Spend a little more time on it.
Let's get to it. Let's talk about it. I'll let you lead us off.
What a mistake to fire Taylor Jenkins. Oh, clip that, Kenny. Just clip only that. Say what a mistake to fire Taylor Jenkins and put the show link in the caption.
Yeah.
First off, we all talked about this earlier. Like, it was time for
Was
sure.
time.
I was shocked by the timing of it.
Same.
The timing was shocking. I don't think it was wrong. Like I was like, I can't believe they just fired him right now. But then you take a step back, you're like, man, what are you gonna lose? Like, yeah. We had already talked about, I think, like the game before that we actually did a show on. We're like, that locker room is gone, right? Like, he clearly lost the plot at that point. But I still think he clearly did a lot for this group, got them to where they are, and you could say it's like he's actively hurt them this year. I wouldn't say you're necessarily wrong. At the same time, like, we've never been Jenkins haters here. I'm not going to be a Jenkins hater. But let's get to new guy.
Hold on one second. One second. Before we get to Tomas, whatever his name is. Evan Celtic Kitchen says, hit the like button. For real, do us a favor. Go ahead and hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed and it's your first time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for Bluff City Media. The show and the channel has been growing like crazy. Brian is trying to take on somebody and name every coach in order. I'm not going to do that because I've read it and I still couldn't do it. But I do want to talk about Taylor Jenkins. A lot of people have kind of been hating on him in a sense. And just looking at this, just in general, he's coached the most games for the Grizzlies at 465. He has the most wins for the team, but also he has most losses as well. But if you look at the percentage, he's second behind Dave Yeager, who was at 59%, close to 60%. He had 53, close to 54% win percentage, which isn't bad. But I don't care ever who the coach is, ever. I don't care. I want to win. I want to have a parade down Beale Street one day. But in the end of the day, like, we're honest here. I don't think it was all the coach's fault. Everybody was very much jumping on the echo chamber of anything he does is wrong. And once you're under that microscope, it's hard to get out of it, especially with the fan base, but even the front office. And so you had to eventually move away from him because it did seem like he lost the locker room. A lot of the decisions he was making this year, it was his worst coach year ever. Just because I felt like when he had his legs taken out from under him in the offseason, he was trying to please Masters, and it never worked. It never looked good. And at that point, you got to move on. And I said this earlier, I agree with them making a decision now because it actually allows them to see what they have in their actual guy of Tomas Isolo. Like, I think that they have a chance to see him. But in the day, I think we'll look back at the Taylor Jenkins era. Most will, I think, as a positive because it did help catapult this franchise after the grit and grind era, which we weren't sure how that was going to go. John Morant, obviously, Jaren, Dez, all very key contributors in that. But I do believe that we'll look back on this and see, hey, that Taylor Jenkins was a good asset in this team and becoming what it was and bouncing back so quickly. But either way, decisions, good, bad, indifferent. I do think that we do look back at Taylor Jenkins in his time here as a coach. I think we'll look at it as a positive. I don't think everybody will, but I do think that we'll look back on it as a positive for most of the part. And it was the time. The training wheels need to come off. And so I ask you the question, Chumas Isolo, do you think that will be the direction the Grizzlies go next year?
Don't you mean Tomar Isoda? As Austin Moore, as Austin put in there. Been waiting for you to get it back to me. I've had that one. I love that. Thanks, Austin. We're just gonna leave the comment up. Why not? I think he is put in an impossible position because you're not gonna unlearn 73 games of habits in 9 games. So I think like it's. I saw somebody earlier, I think, say like, hey, he has put himself, he's not passing the test right now, type of thing. And I'm like, brother, like that's like he can't undo all of that. Right. Like he can't undo everything they've done for 73 games, which he clearly wants to. Right. Not everything. I'm sorry, not everything, but he clearly wants to a different direction than what was done for most of the season. So I think how the players come out and play makes a big difference, right? And again, I didn't watch Saturday, but based off tonight, you're actually a handful of pretty easy executions away from being in that game late, despite the fact that Celtics played really, really well and it's unfair, right?
Whoa.
So listen.
Ja Morant returned.
Listen. Edie accounts by himself for a 5-point swing in that first quarter. Now, I didn't forget about the entire game, no matter what everybody else did. When he smokes a layup with Derek White under him in the restricted area, and then turns, instead of just letting Tillman get the fast break bucket, has the clear pass foul, and then they get a 5-point possession out of it. So there's your 5 points right there from the 3 that they hit on that possession. Marvin Bagley smokes a layup. Luke Kennard smokes like a layup. Like, I don't know what was happening on it. So there's 6 points for you, 3 points for them. All right. And that cuts it down to single digits games. Then all of a sudden, you're looking at a couple of bunnies that get missed by guys you don't expect to miss bunnies, miss free throws. You're not crazy far off. Not to mention the fact you could not make a 3 to save your life in the second half of that game. So all that to say, tonight felt rough. I didn't think it was as ugly as it looked for some portions of the game. I thought the guys played hard and played in it, which I think is the main thing you're looking for in this. Now, you're going to have to show up and beat other teams, right? Like this Golden State game tomorrow, that's not a team I think is light years better than you. All right, now they have Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. That's a big deal. But outside of that, like you don't just love the Golden State roster, right? So it's like, okay, now it's not just play hard. You need to actually compete. But it looked like they competed in that Lakers game. It looked like they were competitive from, in my mind, a lot of tonight. And there's a few. Obviously, you got to execute in general, but pretty easy executions away in that game from being in it at least. If you're doing that night in, night out, the guys are playing with different energy. It looks more like competitive basketball. That's what you want. Because what you don't want to happen is you get like what happened in the Thunder game and the Cavs game. You show up and you just get your ass kicked, dude. Like that's what was happening in those games. You're showing up and it's like, okay, you're about to get your brains beat in. And nobody thinks that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden the Lakers game, they're in it late. They're competing late in that game. This game kind of made a run late, wasn't as competitive, but they're competing all the way basically up to the bitter end of this game. If you do that against these teams night in and night out, I think the Celtics are the only team on that schedule that are light years better than you.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're playing the Wolves, the Warriors, the Nuggets, who else they have in this last? Pacers, I think, are one of these games. Like, are you able to actually kind of split some of these games and really be competitive in it and compete and win? That's what you're looking for. Because in my mind, I thought there's a lot better energy out of that team tonight. And again, a little bit I watched the Lakers game the other night. I was like, okay, that looks like they're competing. So if you can do that and then the other team just makes more shots and that's why they win, instead of like, hey, like you just look like you're folding, that means a lot to me. And then the rest of it, depends on who's on the market coaching wise, but you have a chance to kind of make a name for yourself or prove a point if you can just get that and end up playing more like 50-50 ball the rest of these games.
Thought you were about to grab snow globe already. I was like, man, snow globe season.
I don't need a snow globe. Come to terms.
Listen, there is a lot to get into, and we've gotten to so much. We have plenty of time tomorrow to get into as much and kind of just dissecting what's going to happen. Ray R says he thinks that the Grizzlies are going to get blown out tomorrow, which I don't think they'll get blown out, but that easily could happen. We'll completely see. But Cam the Artist says, he's talking about Tumas Isolo. He makes basketball simple and makes a lot of sense. Taylor sounded like he had a hint of bad stuff going on. Yeah, I got to stay away from that. Sorry, I didn't read that all the way through. I apologize. But shouldn't have said that on the thing. But I was wanting to show the first part of it is the only reason I started reading it, because I disagree, Cam the Artist. I don't think that he talks in a way that I actually enjoy. Like when I was listening to him on the show, or not the show, but on TNT tonight, and he was talking about, I do not know. I don't know if I could be a guy that could actually listen to the way he talks through everything and actually feel confident that we could be able to get on the same page. That would be my struggle, because just listening to it and listening to his press conferences, I don't think that it's like, I don't feel good about getting on the same page with him, just because breaking it down on my level and like coming on my side and talking to me about the game, I would struggle at that. I don't know if he's the right guy for this team, because I don't know if he can be the main voice for this team. I don't know if he can be the guy that challenges Ja, Jaren, and Bane and the rest of these young guys. I don't know if he can be that voice. I'm not saying that Taylor was. We saw a little bit more fire under Taylor, and I'm not taking away anything from Tumas, because we haven't seen a lot of him. But I'm just saying, just the way he communicates, the way he sounds, I just don't believe that he can be that guy. I would love to be proven wrong, but the way he describes everything and talks about everything, I just don't see it. And B. Carter saying here, he doesn't come across as a motivator like that. And that could be completely very judgmental right now. I agree. But I do think that he could be a guy that could be really good. I just don't know if he is fit to be a head coach in America. And that's not to show any shade to anybody overseas. I just think these young guys, they need somebody who can get in your face and get on their level and talk. Just like D'Angelo's taking here. They need an Udoka type. They need somebody that can get on their side and talk the same game as they understand. So is it that guy? We'll see. But I don't think that it can be him. In my opinion, I don't see this guy correlating a lot with this team. And Wayno, I know Wayno's taking offense to it completely. I don't know. You're right. I don't know. I just, as of right now, I don't see it just yet. And so at that point, I'm going to be skeptical. But we'll see overall.
Yeah. My thing with the coaching is the same thing it's always been with the center. It's not that I don't like Edey. It's that I think you need not a rookie center playing for your team.
Right.
It's sort of the same thing on the head coach, right? It has nothing to do with who you are. It's to do with, I think you need somebody like an Udoka. I think you need someone who is not afraid to get in your face and hold you accountable and be like a true, like kind of like a hard ass head coach, to be completely honest with you. Like you need that. This team. Yeah. You need maturity and someone who can grow the team up. Now, if he can do that, then I'm all in. Like that's all I really want. I think the rest will figure itself out with this team.
Wayno's mad at us.
He's mad at you. He's mad at you.
Okay. Wayno's mad at me.
To be really clear.
And Wayno, I'm not throwing shade. I'm explaining to, like, I I struggle with that. I'm being honest. It's just I can't get on that same level, in my opinion. But I also look at the guys. It's hard for them. I had the same kind of opinion about Darko. I just feel like when there's a language barrier or there is going to be, some of that barrier of the communication, I think it's tough for them to get on that side. I could be completely wrong. That's my opinion, but Wayno, if he's right, if he's a good coach and he can get on their level and understand it, then so be it. But I don't want to. I'm not going against because he's not American. Drew's down here, USA.
Come on, baby, America.
I just think that sometimes that they don't play the same style as the NBA, and I think sometimes it's hard to get that motivator, that communicator, if there's already somewhat of a tinge of a communication barrier. I'm just saying, in general, sometimes it's tough, but we'll see. I just thought we should discuss it overall.
This is all I want: accountability, discipline. Maturity.
I'm cool
maturity. It's the main thing you want. Like, can you get these guys to play grown-up basketball? It's the same thing you want vets. It's the same reason you want all of that. Grown up, mature, disciplined, accountable basketball. That's all you want. If he can do that, again, I'm all in. It's on whoever can do that. To be clear, I have no names that I think I'm attached to. Unless Ime gets in trouble again. That's about the only thing I've got for you. Or Spo becomes available because the Heat get mad at him, which will never happen, but it's fun to dream. But other than that, I got no names for you that I just love.
No, I don't.
But that's what you need out of a coach, whether it's him or anyone else.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. That's all I got.
I agree. And Drew's all in for the Mighty Ducks. Everyone forget that Finland was the bad guys in the Mighty Ducks. All right, we're just joking over here, but I do love that bringing in a coach to hold the guys accountable and take the next step, whoever that might be. That's who I think that they should bring in for sure. But we'll see. We'll see how it all goes because there's going to be a lot of questions to be left to be desired. And we'll see at that point whether or not Tomas Islo can actually be the coach of the future. We'll see. A lot of answers, will be, a lot of questions will be answered this year because we'll be able to see kind of how he is and how he is with the team and whether or not they move forward with him. So we'll see. I don't think it'll hit right away, but I think he has a chance in the next 2 weeks to potentially grab that spot and hold on to it for next year. So I don't think that he is completely a shoo-in for the next head coach, not on an interim level. So we'll see completely overall. But everybody, make sure you go ahead and tune in to the $2 Sports Show. It'll be live tomorrow. Hold on, $2 Sports Show tomorrow at 2:00. So supposedly it's 2:00 tomorrow. I apologize if it's not noon. But 2:00 is when they're saying they're going live. So if it is 2:00, just make sure you just go over to Bluff City Media and check it out. But he says it's at 2:00. But Nate, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Nope. I'll be tuned in tomorrow, buddy. Bounce back. I'm a believer.
Tomorrow night, the Grizzlies win against the Warriors. Yes or no?
Yes.
Wow. No chance. 10-point game lost at the Grindhouse. All right, that's all we got. We'll see who's right, Nate or I. I'm not going to say that I may or may not have bet against the Grizzlies tonight, but I did. They are 3-18 against the spread since the All-Star break now, and so if you like betting 3-18 against the against the spread. Sorry, I kind of had to, but we'll see you tomorrow night. Make sure everybody tunes in for the show. We'll be back here Tuesday, and then we have another game Thursday. I don't believe Nate will be here, so I might be able to bring on a special guest we've been trying to get for a hot minute if Nate's not going to be joining us. But we'll see everybody same time, same channel tomorrow night. Be nice and tell your friends.